Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are in the Bloodpine Woods, playing as the forces of the Tomb Kings against the forces of the Wood Elves. And you might be wondering why the heck I'm casting the exact same matchup that I casted pretty recently. And the reason for that is, well, I've been playing a good amount of Tomb Kings lately, trying to just test out their Bone Giants in particular. And people seem to think Wood Elves are the way to go. So obviously not good Bone Giant material, but at least I've been getting the opportunity to hone my Tomb King versus Wood Elf play, I suppose. I guess that's a benefit. Regardless, for this match, we are going to be going in with a somewhat different build from what I brought last time. I decided to go more mobile, decided to avoid using Katep on his playing the DJ, and instead bringing Cask of Souls, we're going to be able to rock in Cetra. So for my build here, Cetra the Imperishable, he is mounted on a horse. This makes him a slightly smaller target if my opponent goes for Waywatcher snipes. He still has monstrous combat stats. 60 melee attack, 55 melee defense, of course crazy weapon strength and anti-large, and he does have that lore of Nakara, which lets him buff up and really keep his infantry in the fight. So we've got Joff's Incantation of Cursed Blades. Keep in mind, Overcast, this grants bonus versus large, which can really help your Nakaran horsemen punch way above their weight class, especially against units like Wild Riders. We've also got Nair's Incantation of Protection for the physical resist, both to protect Cetra as well as important units, and Wrath of Tra to send some of those Wood Elf troops scurrying for the hills. Besides that, frontline is pretty dirt cheap. So there are 3 Tomb Guard in there, which are pretty elite, and a single unit of the King of Kesh's Scorpion Legion here, as well as the Skeleton Spear. So it's honestly like the cheapest frontline, but it's not exactly a huge sort of monstrous, massive blob of infantry. Backing them up, we do have 2 Shopti Greatbows. These guys are there to chip away at Waywatchers, to chip away at enemy cavalry, even poke at lords if needed, and they are covered by a single unit of Eyes of the Desert all the way back here. And, of course, Eyes of the Desert, very strong. Ever since their buff, the Sepulchral Stalkers have become an absolute menace at distance, smacking for 104 AP damage plus poison. That means they will put down any large unit very quickly. Besides that, 5 units of Nakar Horsemen, providing a solid cavalry contingent. And these guys are absolute murder against a lot of Wood Elf troops. They can really deal pretty well with Wild Riders for their cost. And if you mob them like this, you can really sort of overwhelm your opponent. Now for my opponent, he did decide to go with a very, very wide Wood Elf build. Orion is in here. Orion seems to be a very common pick in this matchup. I do think he's pretty strong because he does give you that anti-large AP. He's unbreakable. And honestly, his abilities aren't terrible for crushing Wood Elves or for crushing the Tomb Kings. Both Hawk's Talon as well as Hounds of Orion can do good damage to squishy, blobbed up troops. We do have the Cloak of Isha in there, of course, to keep him in tip-top shape. 2 Branch Wraiths as well. Some interesting choices here. Both of them do have the Call of the Woods as well as the Other Trickster Shard. And in my opinion, this is a big mistake. And I think the reason my opponent brought the Other Trickster Shard is due to a misunderstanding. This reduces magic resist, but it doesn't increase your opponent's magic weakness. So your units will not actually do more damage unless your opponent has magic resistance to begin with. So this can help against dwarves. It can help against like Knights of Blazing Sun or something, but it's not going to help against Tomb Kings, and I think that's a bit of a mistake there. My opponent probably hoping that it would help his mob of infantry, especially Dryads, which are all clumped up on this flank here. So we got a whole mob of Dryads as a flank, Eternal Guard as a second group of solid infantry, so some very solid troops there. One of the branch wraiths here does have Earthblood as well as Trumbull Pendulum, great for clearing out troops, as well as helping heal either Orion or some of the more elite troops, such as the Wild Riders here, or perhaps the Sisters of the Thorn, and these are both rather solid troops. We do also have 2 Starfire Shafts back there, so all in all, a relatively solid build. I do think the use of the Double Trickster Shard is a bit of a mistake. But besides that, even so, Branch Wraiths can do a lot of damage to Tomb King infantry. They can certainly help your infantry perform a lot better. Not a lot of cavalry here, not a lot of missiles, which I think is a little bit interesting, but perhaps my opponent was gambling on the fact that with this much infantry, he would be able to zone me away. And initially, I wasn't really sure what he had brought. I only saw sort of little bits and bobs of my opponent's formation as it was advancing here. And so I decided to reposition away from the woods. I didn't want to engage my opponent in the woods. Fighting Wood Elves in the woods with Farstalker is just not good for your health. That's a quick way to lose. So repositioning here, posturing with their Nakar and Horsemen, keeping them ready on standby. The infantry formation is going to advance a little bit. I'm going to try to get my Shopti a little closer to start popping shots, perhaps force my opponent forward. And in the meantime, he's sort of sallying out, looking to do a bit of scouting with cavalry, playing things cautiously as well. Now, the Shopti here are going to stop, but some very good micro from my opponent here. He's actually going to evade all that fire with the Thorn, so excellent play there. You really don't see people tend to avoid this well, but very well played there. Managed to avoid all damage, and I immediately put these guys on hold fire. I realize my opponent here is not going to let me just shoot him for free. You can see here he's trying to bait me out, bait out another volley, but I'm having none of it. And I'm like, you know what? You want to micro them? You do you. I'm going to sit tight. In the meantime, Starfire shots are advancing, looking to get some cheeky fire, but we're going to zone them out with the infantry corps. Skeleton spears especially are a very cheap way of zoning out Starfire shafts, like silver shields. They have no armor, so who cares if they take some damage. But the Shopti are going to push forward, and we are going to try to pop some shots at the Starfire shafts. There isn't really many targets here for me to shoot at. Obviously, there are Wild Riders, but my opponent's been proving himself very effective at juking, so I don't want to engage there. In the meantime, though, he is pushing forward with his Dryads and his Eternal Guard. And over here, we are doing a little bit of harass, pushing out with the Nekar and Horsemen, looking to screen away these Sisters of Thorn. I was actually trying to get a bit of a pincer maneuver going, surrounding these ladies, trying to pin them down, but of course they have poison on their missiles, 85 speed. There's no way in hell I'm getting close enough, unless I get lucky somewhere. Curse of Honor goes down, slows me down. Now this was good, managing to bait out that spell early, could help in the late game. Or perhaps we'd see maybe an important cavalry fight or something. The fact that now my opponent doesn't have that debuff could be very useful. But Cetra over here sort of posturing, looking to engage. In the meantime, over here, we are going to look to get some shots into the Wild Riders. But once again, some excellent play from my opponent. He's really on top of his micro here, just pulling away with the Wild Riders. Not engaging with his infantry, and because of that, he is kind of conserving his strength. But we are going to push forward with the Ushabti and start firing back at the Starfire shafts. And Ushabti, obviously, this is not ideal. If I could, I'd rather be shooting at something more valuable, but honestly, picking off like 10 models or something is nice. Probably should have been splitting my fire so I didn't waste damage, but you know, it's something. We're whittling those Starfire shafts down and punishing my opponent for trying to push forward. In the meantime, over here, Cetra, as well as the Nekar and Horseman, trying to get in. I pop Drops Incantation of Cursed Blades to get more damage against these Sisters. It helps a little bit. We got a little bit of damage in there, but and the Starfire shafts are now butchering me. I've actually pulled the other Neckhorn Horseman back. Now pulling Cetra forward here. I saw that my opponent had a Rhine, so I knew I didn't have to worry about a snare and potential instant snipage. We do see Shield of Thorns going down here, the bound Shield of Thorns, of course, and get a beautiful counter charge. And honestly, in here, if we can start picking models off with Cetra, that's excellent. You can see these ladies are losing quite a bit of HP there. And yes, we are going to lose our Nekar Horseman here, which is not ideal to the Starfire shafts, though I do pop Narrow's Incantation of Protection, wasting my opponent's HP in turn. But keep in mind, my Shopti are picking away, knocking down these Starfire shafts, actually getting these long, these broadside shots here, raking the length of the formation here is doing quite a bit of hurt. And although these Nekar Horsemen will eventually fall to this combined force of firepower plus melee, it's not going to be before the Sisters lose over half their HP and much of their models. And the Starfire shafts here get absolutely bludgeoned. Now, a bit of misplay here on my part is not focusing these Starfire shafts next, but is what it is. Over here, the Nekar and Horsemen get a jump on my opponent's Wild Riders. A little bit of a micro slip up there as lines begin to meet. The Hawks down there, raining down the Ushabti Great Bows, but not going to do very much. This is much better used against infantry, honestly. But we are going to commit our infantry into this fight here. You can see the Tomb Guard as well as Spears are going to engage here. I should have pulled perhaps this Tomb Guard back, held them in reserve, but I didn't have much infantry, so I just kind of decided to try to pin my opponent as best I could. In the meantime, Eternal Guard are going to be surging forward in the wake of those Dryads, who are, of course, there for the infantry clearance. Fortunately, though, Tomb Guard is actually a pretty powerful force. So in this frontline fight, it's going to be a bit of a wet noodle contest. The Dryads also getting stacked on top of each other, so that is a bit of a micro mistake from my opponent, is allowing those Dryads to just stack on top of one another like that. It's going to let the Tomb Guard hold way longer than they should. Orion here is surging forward, but we are going to see the sneaky snakes unload on this poor guy, and just look at them spit in venom, and really showing how much damage they can do. Orion instantly loses about 1,000 HP there, gets his charge, but keep in mind they have charge defense, so they're going to hold there, and in comes Cetra, very angry, not in the mood for any of this, and drops a Drops Incantation of Cursed Blade. So these guys are going to be much more potent combatants. Gorgeous Penumbral Pendulum, they're raking my Tomb Guard and demolishing them in a brutal fashion. But here in the pits, we are going to get a beautiful explosion there from Cetra. And the Nekar and Horsemen, just operating in a massive blob here, are going to get the surround of the Wild Riders and start bludgeoning them into oblivion. In the meantime, over here, King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion is going to surge forward, looking to get in on the Starfire shafts and compromise them. We are able to remove these Wild Riders from play, and now focusing the hell out of Orion. But at the same time, my opponent here, good plays, pushing forward with the Eternal Guard, looking to support. Shield of Thorns going down, keeping Orion in much better shape than I would like. The Sisters of the Thorn here engaging on the Nekesha Scorpion Legion, looking to bog them down. But at this point, I was smelling blood in the water. I was going hard after Orion, looking to beat the brakes off him. Cetra, of course, swinging hard there and doing quite a bit of damage. Unfortunately, Hawk's Talent is going to go down there. We're going to push forward here. Eyes of the Desert going to bog him down. But we're getting surrounded. The infantry is compromising. My opponent's mass mob troop strategy is kind of working. Over here, we are going to actually counteract the Penumbral Pendulum a little bit, pulling back with some of our Tomb Guard. I actually pulled them back to engage the Eternal Guard, and that does save them from some of the damage. Cetra is still in the pits here, but we are going to put these guys on guard mode and start unloading on Orion. And of course, even with that 44% ward save from the Cloak of Isha, he is going to be taking massive chunks of damage there. These guys are still doing over 100 damage per shot. And yeah, Orion's not going to be able to hold up against firepower of that magnitude, bleeding HP very quickly. Cetra is in there as well, striking back at him. And I was just looking to kill Orion here and now, put my opponent's leadership in the dirt. But unfortunately, these Eternal Guard doing some good work against Cetra, of course. Cetra, large target. Not going to hold up too well. We do get a nice little explosion there. Curse coming down from Cetra, actually melting a lot of this infantry. Necron Horseman here stalling for time, and Orion does fall. The King in the Woods collapsing to Cetra. So the Imperishable here, living up to his name, smiting his foes with absolute unholy brutality. Ushapti Summon is going to go down on the back line here, butchering these Starfire Shafts, removing them from play, removing a lot of the threat to my cavalry, and we are going to swing back here with the Nehekarn Horsemen, looking to crush this Eternal Guard, who have kind of sandwiched up on these Eyes of the Desert. Cetra, in the meantime, looking to fight his way clear, and there's Incantation of Protection protecting him, able to dive in here against the Eternal Guard. Bit of a bad situation here for my opponent. He sent his Dryads after the Ushapti Greatbows, but really, Ushapti Greatbows are just very beefy. They've got 90 armor. They got 35 melee defense. Dryads are going to suck against that. They're not going to do much. Necron Horsemen here extricate themselves, as does Cetra. My front line is basically gone, but you know what? Things are looking pretty decent. Ushapti now able to unload on the backs of these Eternal Guard. They don't give a crap about their silver shields anyway, and able to start really chipping down these models. The Tomb Guard here will be sacrificed. I couldn't really run, and so I'm like, you know what? Get in there, fight. Now, in the meantime, balance of power is pretty heavily in my favor, but keep in mind, things are not as rosy or peachy keen as one would think. Ushapti Greatbow's not great against masses of infantry like this, really. Cetra is very low on HP, and I don't have any mob clear abilities on him. I've just got one more cast of the Wrath of Tra, and that's it. And the Necron Horseman, while a very powerful medium cav, is not ideal against Eternal Guard, really. My opponent here casting Earthblood. Obviously, it's one of his only remaining spells, or only spell options, so it makes sense. But honestly, it's not going to resurrect models, and that's really what's happening right now. They're getting butchered. But I'm kind of doing cleanup. I'm cutting back with the Ushapti, evading engagement. I see that these Dryads are out here exposed, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to run these Dryads off the field. In the meantime, the Necron Horsemen here scatter to the four corners of the earth, looking to chase down my opponent's fleeing troops. These Dryads, I want them gone from play. I want these Glaive Guard gone. I do not want these troops sticking around, providing my opponent with additional balance of power strength. And so I'm looking to clean that up as best I can. Over the Ushapti, you're going to pile into melee. I don't want to waste their ammo on Dryads, because Dryads, it's a waste. Why bother? I can beat these guys in melee, remove them from play, and use that ammo on Eternal Guard later. So we're going to dive in there with Cetra, break these monstrosities here, send them fleeing for the hills. And, you know, balance of power is shifting more and more in my favor. We're up to about, I don't know, 60-40 favorable. But still, it's not a done deal. Necron Horsemen are coming back from cleanup in Aisle 9. My opponent's troops shattering in the distance. But at this stage, one of my big mistakes is that in the midst of all this excitement, all this micro, I forgot about the King Nekesha Scorpion Legion. Here they are, animated in perfect shape, or very near pristine shape, sitting around doing nothing. Look at these skelly boys. Look at them. These handsome lads facing the wrong direction as their king is getting slaughtered in the background. Brave lads. But I've forgotten about them. So balance of power, I'm kind of wondering why the hell the balance of power is so favorable right now. And that's why. Either way, Cetra's going to dive in here looking to engage. My Ushapti Greatbows, I'm going to put them on guard mode so that these Eternal Guard don't interrupt them, and just start wailing on the enemy Eternal Guard. I do get a nice Wrath of Tra there, but unfortunately my opponent had started moving his infantry away to engage on my cavalry. Because of that, Cetra doesn't get as much value as he could. There's Incantation of Protection going down here, protecting Cetra from a lot of the return damage, especially from the Eternal Guard. And I was looking to cause a chain rout. Dryads collapsing, Eternal Guard collapsing, slowly but surely chipping my opponent down. Over here, we're going to pull these Ushapti clear, looking to kite, while we expend the rest of our ammo from these Ushapti over there to chip my opponent down. In the meantime, these Necron Horsemen are coming back, and I finally realized King Nekesha's Scorpion Legion is somewhere on the map, and I'm now finally marching them back into the fight. But At this stage of the game, it would have been nice to have them in this pit fight, just bogging down this infantry. Potentially, they could win this all by themselves. So, the Necron Horsemen, you're slugging it out, tit for tat with the Eternal Guard. Not ideal, but we do get a bunch of routes going, so that is definitely a big win. Forcing these troops to break apart. Getting the Dryads off the field. Over here, these are Shopti. Bit of a mismicro on my part, letting them get caught by their Eternal Guard. They should still be running, but I'm going to get the other unit of Shopti, the one that's no longer toting ammo, to get into the fight here. They actually get the heal there from the passive. I'm going to be able to get in there on the Eternal Guard, so that's a nice little perk. And Setra the Imperishable is able to dive in against these Dryads. And he's whittling these guys down. He's forcing some routes. The Necron Horsemen are able to get some more damage in, getting some wraps in there. So using that, they don't have great charge runs, but 26 charge is something, and they do have good weapon strength at 38. So they're able to start really breaking these troops, breaking the Eternal Guard, breaking the Dryads. At this point, odds for my opponent are really starting to drop. His Eternal Guard is all the way out there. He's only got one unit of Eternal Guard left alongside the Brand Traits. And at this point, even without cycle charging, it would be very tough for my opponent to stop me. So he is falling back to the tree line to survive there. These Ushapti are just running away from the Eternal Guard. Unfortunately, these guys stopped chasing. Not entirely sure why, but they did, deciding it's none of their business, I suppose. But I'm going to send them after these Eternal Guard. I want to remove these guys from play. I want them gone. Over here, Necron Horsemen are going to get a little bit of a charge in on the Eternal Guard. Get a little bit of damage in there, though not too much, before peeling back and looking to crush this Eternal Guard over here. So it's a little bit of cleanup action at this point. We do charge in with our Ushapti. Probably a bit of a misplay. I got kind of greedy. I could have kept these guys out of the fight and sort of maximized performance, but at this point I kind of knew I was going to win. The Nikesh Scorpion Legion is going to push in here. It's a bit of a pit fight here. We do clear out the Eternal Guard, isolate the Branch Wraiths, and the poor Branch Wraiths are actually still in good shape, but their leadership just buckles. They've got no Lord. Can't even see them. They're surrounded down there. Citra up in their face. And it's going to be GG for the Tomb Kings. So, in my opinion, a bit of a fun game where, well, we managed to get some great value out of Nehekar and Horsemen, as well as Ushapti, in a situation where my opponent's build wasn't necessarily the most favorable, I would say. Had my opponent gone with more kite heavy, this build would have performed better, I think. Had my opponent gone with some more elite troops, I think this would have performed a bit better. But instead, my opponent went with this very wide infantry build, and it actually almost worked. He started swarming. I think if Orion had survived, my opponent had played a little more cautiously with Orion, he could have probably squeaked that one out. Because having Orion in the late game to punish the Necron Horsemen and just stand on top of the infantry blob, punish the Necron Horsemen, that would have been excellent, really. Ushabti Greatbows are not that good at sniping a single entity like Orion. You can also dodge. My opponent's micro was on point, especially early game. So chances are in late game, when most of his stuff was dead, he'd have the micro to juke around with Orion. The Ushabti Greatbows would have probably struggled there. And honestly, with Cetra being really bludgeoned in that late game, I think Orion would have probably been able to squeak it out. But we did manage to snipe out Orion. The Eyes of the Desert just paying massive dividends there, able to snipe the King of the Woods. And after that, we could kind of just cycle charge everything with the Necron Horsemen. Tomb Guard did all right. They got swarmed. It is what it is. But Ushabti Greatbow is paying massive dividends there as well. For my opponent's build, I think the biggest mistake was honestly the double Branch Wraith. One, the Branch Wraiths were not fighting on top of Dryads the entire time, so the buffs they were providing weren't necessarily the most optimal. They were kind of blobbed together, which makes your Call of the Woods redundant. You only need one Call of the Woods. You don't get double stacks, so you don't get the double dip on Call of the Woods. So if you're just going to blob these guys together, run them in one spot, then might as well just bring one Branch Wraith, free up some money for something else. Second of all, the use of the other Trickster Shard, it doesn't actually help your Dryads anyway. It can help if your opponent has units that have magic resist, so against dwarves, as I mentioned earlier, and isolating sun, stuff like that, then yes, the other Trickster Shard does help, but versus everything else, it's worthless. It doesn't imbue magic weakness. It simply removes enemy magic resistance. And I assume my opponent didn't know that. I assume that's why he ran his Branch Wraiths, double Branch Wraiths there, but just something to keep in mind if you're ever thinking about running that ability. It kind of sucks. Honestly, I don't think there's any matchup where it's really worth bringing. And it's unfortunate. I'm hoping it gets changed, but at the moment, it's just not a worthwhile ability. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure how much you could say, but Branch Wraith's not that cheap of a hero. You could get like I think just trying to get a little more mobility here would have been nice. Get like an extra unit of Wild Riders in there. You could like cut a unit of Eternal Guard or something, cut the Branch Wraith, and free up money for one more unit of Wild Riders. That could be huge. actually make my life much more difficult in this game. They give you a little more swarminess. Or maybe, honestly, you could cut the Branch Wraith, cut the Eternal Guard. And if you really want to commit to this Glade Guard play, that frees up much more money for Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts to really shine. You could get like 4 units of Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts, which would have been very tough for me to stop with this build. Obviously, Necron Horseman can get into the cookie jar, but you've got some cav, you got some monstrous troops to stop that. So yeah, I think that could be better. That's just my 2 cents there. Great game to grouch here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it fun and entertaining as usual. Make sure to leave your thoughts, opinions, comments, and critiques down below. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.